Mark, you have lived through and written through some of the most transformational decades in travel history. You began traveling in a world without the internet.
Woman told me, she goes, Primera va a la esquina. First, go to the corner, and then come back here and go that way. I mean, you don't get that if you're on Google Maps.
Book flights in minutes, can even preview hotels in 4K before even landing there, and even crowdsource opinions instantly.
Can you imagine back in before 1991, you had to call up each or write a letter to each and every single one of those airlines.
Those places, traveling for the first time, exploring those regions, and most of them were.
Well, I didn't have enough money to take a bus or a train, so I hitchhiked. Now, in California, where I grew up, we always hitchhiked.
One surprise destination in North America.
The Hudson Valley is one of the most historic areas in the United States, going back to
one place in the Middle East travelers should rethink.
I have, as I said, I've been there before, but with everything that has happened there.
Mark, it's a real pleasure to have you on the podcast. Where are you joining us from today?
Well, hello, Adeeba, and to everyone watching. I'm joining the podcast today from my home studio in Pleasantville, New York. Pleasantville is a little village about 40 miles north of New York City, north of Times Square. And I've lived here with my wife and family for the past 30 years.
For the past 30 years?
Yes, that's
right. So you have witnessed all the transformation of the city up close.
I have. Oh my goodness. When I first started working in New York City, I have to tell you, it was not a pleasant place. It has changed considerably for the better. And if you ever get a chance to visit New York City, please come. We will welcome you and you will have a great time.
Thank you so much. How's the weather there?
Well, we're in the midst of winter, so we've had a little bit of snow. Nothing too terrible. You know, I've had to get out and shovel a few times, and I have to. I usually like to walk around wearing a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, but now I have to bundle up a little bit more. But it's fine. You know, the weather, and I know that we can all appreciate this. The weather is part of the experience of being alive. If you were in the same regular temperature the whole year, what are you experiencing? I love the changes. I love the trees turning to orange. I love the snow when it first comes down. I love the summertime and go to the beach and go body surfing. So I don't complain about anything.
Wonderful. So, Mark, you have lived through and written through some of the most transformational decades in travel history. You began traveling in a world without the internet, without Google Maps, without Instagram, or even guidebooks as we know them today. Travel then was based on curiosity, courage, and trust. Today, we live in an era where people visually consume a destination before they ever step foot in it, sometimes even before they want to go there. You have been an international editor at Travel and Leisure, one of the most prestigious travel magazines in the world, reported for CNBC, written 4 books, and recently published a memoir revisiting a hitchhiking journey that you took more than 50 years ago across Europe, South Africa, and Britain. So you were born into a time when travel required effort, planning was slow, information was scarce, and much of the journey unfolded through uncertainty. Now, you being a boomer, I want to know, what was it like traveling back then? What did travel feel like in the 60s and 70s, especially for a young travel hitchhiking across continents?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I look back on those days with great fondness, as you can imagine, Adeeba. And there are complete and utter contrasts between today and back then. But I would say that the most wonderful aspect of traveling in the pre-internet days was that you didn't make instant decisions.
Hmm.
You didn't just say, oh, here I'm on my cell phone. I can get directions to that place. No, you had to stop someone on the street in a foreign country where you didn't speak the language, and 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 ask someone, how do I get to this place or that place? And you learn funny, wonderful things. For example, in Mexico,
Hmm.
whenever I go to Mexico, at least in the old days, and I would say, de donde es? Where is whatever? And they would always respond, primera va a la esquina. First, go to the corner. I even had one time where a woman told me, she goes, primera va a la esquina. First, go to the corner and then come back here and go that way. I mean, you you don't get that if you're on Google Maps. And that I guess brings me to the point that you had to rely on your communication with the people in the places where you were going. You didn't just, ask Siri, where the coolest bar was. You didn't type into Google, how do I get to this place, or what are the top 10 attractions in that city or that destination. You had to rely on interacting with people, and that has really affected my life and my journalism. That the people are the most important aspect of travel. Things have changed a lot. We can go into that as much or as little as you want to, but that's what I recall most from traveling in the early days when I was a young man hitchhiking across Europe and North Africa.
So were people more open, more trusting?
Oh, yes, 100%. Um, Today, if one of my now grown children said that they were going on a hitchhiking trip across Africa, I would say, "No way, not on your life. I will personally tie you up and stop you." Uh, and I mean, realistically, though, was it less dangerous,
Hmm.
40 years ago than today? I don't know. I don't know what the statistics are, but certainly we perceived it as being uh, a little more safe. Now, trust me, I was in situations, during my many travels when I said, "Uh-oh, I shouldn't be here. I
Hmm.
should leave. This is not a good situation." So it wasn't all, as we say in America, a bowl of cherries. It wasn't all perfect and joyous and rose petals. No, you had to be careful, and things, of course, did go bad sometimes for some people. But I think in a general sense, it was safer, and people felt more of a connection if they saw a hitch. Well, look at,
Hmm.
if you're driving a car and you see a hitchhiker on the side of the road,
Yeah.
you say to yourself, "Oh, should I pick this person up?
Yeah.
Should I give this person a ride?" Just as me as a hitchhiker, and someone pulls over, I think to myself, "Well, who is this person? Why are they stopping? Is it safe to go?" So there's
Yes.
a little
Agreed.
trepidation on both sides. But
Hmm.
ultimately, I never had any problems. I'm not a big guy. I mean, I'm not going to scare anybody. But so I would just be nice. I would knock on their door and say, "Yeah, I'm going to this place or that place." "Oh yeah, I'm going there too. Come on in," and it would be fine. I never had a bad episode.
Yeah. So, building upon our conversation, today travel is incredibly accessible. We
Mm.
can book flights in minutes, can even preview hotels in 4K before even landing there, and even crowdsource opinions instantly. So, from your perspective, has convenience enhanced travel or diluted something essential?
In some ways, it has certainly enhanced travel, and I'll give you a couple of examples. Simply by, well, let's go back very briefly, 30 years ago, there's a wonderful travel writer, a great author, famous, Bill Bryson. And I used to work with Bill Bryson as an editor, and he would write stories for me at Travel and Leisure. And I sent Bill on an assignment back in, I believe it was 91 or 1992, where he was able to buy one single ticket that would allow him to fly around the world. Now, that's very common today. You can go to, whether it's, your favorite airline, okay, and say, I want to buy a ticket that will take me to China and Hawaii and then San Francisco and New York, et cetera, back to where I started. You can do that with one airline because we have the airline partnerships. That didn't used to exist. Can you imagine back in before 1991, you had to call up each or write a letter to each and every single one of those airlines. What a nightmare. So going back just to that point, things have been much smoother. Of course, now you can choose your seat on a flight. You can change your flights. You can rebook. You can compare prices. All of that used to require you to go to a travel agent who would do all the work and get the commission and all that. So certainly, and look at hotels. You can now preview the hotels. You can even do virtual tours of a hotel before you book to decide which one do I want to stay at. So there are many, many practical things about the convenience of the digital era today for a traveler. My concern is that it distances us from other people, from contacting people directly, from interacting with other people, that it kind of isolates us. One last example of this, Adeeba. When you read a newspaper, I mean a printed physical newspaper in print, you see there's 4 or 5 or 6 stories on the front page. You didn't know what to expect. You read stuff that you didn't plan on reading. You learn things that you weren't even researching. You turn the page and the same thing happens. Today, when people read the news, they type in the name of a place or the name of an event that they've heard of. They're not scanning the full panoply of news that's out there. And this is what I'm afraid we're losing in travel, that I look at, what are the top 10 attractions in this city? I don't look at number 11 or number 20 or number 35. And those may be really, really fascinating. So there's a certain loss of exploration, of curiosity, of chance that we lose when we rely exclusively on digital tools.
Yes, it brings me to my next question. Like, you have written in an era when words had to do all the work. There were no hyperlinks, no reels, no visual shortcuts. And as you mentioned, your biggest fear of people losing that curiosity in this fast digital paced world. So, how did you personally approach describing a destination so vividly that a reader could feel it, which we are seeing that this is becoming a kind of an extinct tradition, like people are not reading more. So how do you think earlier in those days, what was your approach to describe a destination that it really brought in the readers to experience that destination firsthand?
I learned early on, or I realized early on in my journalism career, that a million people can write about, let's say, the Taj Mahal. But there's only one person who can write about how Mark Orwoll felt at visiting the Taj Mahal. So that's a silly little example, but the point is this: I have felt that travel is such a personal experience that it shouldn't be it shouldn't devolve into top 10 lists.
Hmm.
the best of lists, where it's just generic. In fact, a lot of people who write those sorts of best of stories, maybe they visited one or two or three of the places on their list, but the rest of them, they're just using internet research. There's no personal connection, there's no emotion, there's no sense of what I felt like, and therefore what you might feel like by visiting this place. That was one of the things that, well, you couldn't help but do that when in the again in the pre-internet era,
Hmm.
because you didn't have access to all of that information. The only way that I could write about a hotel was if I went to the hotel. The only way I could write about a restaurant was by dining at that restaurant. So everything that I researched, and this wasn't just me, I mean, this was that era of travel journalism. You wrote about what you experienced. Nowadays, there's much more of the, just give it to us in little sound bites, wrap it up in two or three sentences, give me a list to choose from, and then I'm gone.
Hmm.
Well, it's a shame, and I don't know if this is just a human reaction to the evolution of digital journalism on the part of the reader, or if this is something that we should be battling against. I do think, to a certain extent, editors of online magazines are so afraid of not building up the audience that they will do anything to
Hmm.
cater to that audience's lowest, basest instincts and
Hmm.
desires, as opposed to trying to uplift them. That's something we've lost between the old print journalism days and the current digital days. There's no sense of curation. There's a sense of, we're going to give them exactly what they want, not we're going to give them what we have experienced and what we know about and what they should know about, and then we're going to tell them. So there's a big difference between the old days in that regard and the internet days
I,
now.
I share the same concerns, and I will second with your opinions. You see, I'm so concerned about present day um, AI era,
Yeah.
and I'm really worried about its impact on travel journalism. So you see, you have mentioned it yourself that we live in an era of instant consumption,
Yes.
short captions, reels, AI summaries. So, do you believe long form reading will always have a place in travel storytelling, or its role is changing? This is really concerning.
Well, it's an excellent question. And I don't know that there's a, pardon me, I don't know there's a simple answer to this, but I will point out some examples from other areas of our lives. For example, are handmade Italian leather shoes passe? Will they ever be passe? Or will there always be a market for that kind of quality, as opposed to the sort of mass market purchase of cheaply made shoes that anybody can buy? There's room for both. What
Hmm.
about a hand tailored suit from
Hmm.
Hong Kong, hand measured, made specifically to your fit? Now we live in an age of pret-a-porter, where the off-the-rack suits are affordable and cheaply made.
Hmm.
That's okay. People, that's something that people will need, will want, but there is a market for the tailoring, the hand tailoring. And I think the same thing applies to journalism. Yes, you can get the top 10 lists, you can get the best of lists, you can get the stories that sometimes sound like they were written by AI. I hope not, but sometimes they sound like that because they're so generic. You can get those, they're easy. But if you want to really interact with a piece of journalism, if you want to understand something, if you're a little bit curious
Hmm.
intellectually,
Hmm.
we do need those longer form, in depth stories from a writer's own perspective and experience. So there is a place for those. I have seen it diminish. I
Hmm.
hate to say this, but I've seen it
Yeah.
diminish. But yes, there is definitely a place for it. And I think it will continue.
Yeah, so it's comforting to have this conclusion. So you and many other travel writers don't see artificial intelligence as a threat to travel journalism and travel writers. Correct?
Well, a threat is certainly not a threat to what I do,
No.
because no AI, chat GPT or anything can write a story about what Mark Orwoll experienced. Only I can do that. Only I can do that. And you may not trust me, you may trust me. If you do, then let's go along on a journey, because I'm going to take you someplace pretty cool. And trust me, it'll be you and me and nobody else. It won't
Mhm.
be some chat GPT automaton trying to write a story.
Great. So every great writer is first a reader.
Mm.
Whose travel writing from the past or present has influenced you the most? Who do
Oh,
you still turn to for inspiration?
oh my goodness. Well, I'll tell you somebody who I mentioned him earlier,
Yeah.
someone who I really appreciate his work a lot is Bill Bryson. Notes from a Small Island was the first book I remember reading of his. He was born in Iowa, in the United States, but then moved in his early 20s to England. So when he moved to England, he was very aware of all of the differences, the different types of people, the sorts of activities they did, the food they ate. Everything was new to him, and that's what he wrote about. And that idea of revelation, of discovery, of exploration has stayed with me ever since. I like to think that I might have had a little bit of it, but my own. But when I read Bill's first book, I thought this is awesome, and then I had a great chance to work with him on several stories. Paul Theroux. Paul Theroux is the the current living god of travel writing in my experience. I first came to Paul Theroux from his book, The Great Railway Bazaar. Read many of his other books, and that got me into train travel very, very much. Wilfred Thesiger from the 1930s and 40s and 50s, one of the great English explorers and travel writers. Arabian Sands was a book that I'll treasure and remember forever, where he went across the empty quarter of Saudi Arabia. Oh, so many more, so many more. Redmond O'Hanlon's book about the Congo,
Mm.
Bruce Chatwin in Patagonia. There's so many. I have not read Dervla Murphy. Dervla Murphy wrote a book. She's an English, or pardon me, Irish writer from uh, basically from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And she rode a bicycle from Ireland all the way to India
Mm.
by herself. I haven't read this book yet. I don't know what's stopping me. Just finding time for everything. But there are so many great writers. So many of them come from uh, from the UK, from
Mm.
Ireland, and from England. Certainly, more and more of them come from America, and there's wonderful travel writers from around the world that I'm still searching out and exploring. So I'm not devoted in my tastes to writers of any one nation or anything like that. I
Mm.
want to explore the different perspectives of travel seen from every point of view. But those are some of my favorites over the last few years. John Steinbeck, Travels with Charlie. Oh my God, I get chills about that book. It was so wonderful. There's so many of them. I could go on forever.
Right. So, in your humble opinion, which travel magazines today are truly maintaining editorial integrity and depth,
Mm-hmm.
particularly in US?
Yes, that would be the ones you might expect. Certainly, Travel and Leisure. And full disclosure, I worked at Travel and Leisure magazine for 30 years.
Yeah.
Um, my last position there was international editor, so I did a lot of different things. And there is a tradition there of sound journalism, of fact checking,
Mm.
of accuracy, as well as making a beautiful magazine. That also extends to our Southeast Asia edition, Travel and Leisure, India as well. We have several other editions around the world. Condé Nast Traveler is a great, great magazine. And they have a terrific UK edition and elsewhere around the world. Another magazine I think is really worth knowing about is Afar. They're based in San Francisco, California,
Mm-hmm.
and they carry on the great tradition of hardcore reporting, but with great style and always a concern for accuracy, legitimacy, uh, and ethical reporting. So
Right.
those are three magazines that I really like a lot. And even though I am a little partial to Travel and Leisure since I used to work
Mhm. I can understand that. So let's get back to
there.
the memoir that you penned it down yourself.
Yes.
Just one little hitch. So yeah, so just walk us through that book, through that
Mm.
memory of you going back to those places, traveling for the first time, exploring those regions, and most of them were not American in nature. That was like a completely different culture that you were exploring,
It
especially
was.
African. So please walk us through that.
Well, I was in college back in 1976, but I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't studying anything in particular that I wanted to be studying. And so I asked the college if I could take a break. And so I left school in March of 1976. I didn't return back to the United States until well into August of that year. So it was roughly 6 months. And I didn't have much money. I didn't know what I was doing. And I landed in Frankfurt, Germany. Well, I didn't have enough money to take a bus or a train, so I hitchhiked. Now, in California, where I grew up, we always hitchhiked. We would hitchhike to the beach. That was the main thing. And sometimes even carrying a surfboard, that you would hitchhike to the beach and you'd still get a ride. But so I wasn't afraid to hitchhike. And I had a map of Europe. I mean, it was one of these maps that when you unfold it, it's like it's like about a meter wide in each direction. It's huge. Not a lot of detail, but I would figure out where I was going from there. I had a hostel identification card so I could stay at the youth hostels. And from there, I went all over Europe. I ended up in England and Wales. After Germany, I was in the Netherlands and Belgium. I was in France and Spain. Finally, I ended up at one point in Morocco,
Hmm.
and two Australians, young Australians, had just bought a car and they were out to experience life. And they said, after I hitchhiked with them for a while, they said, "Hey, mate, we're going down to Morocco. You want to come with us?" I said,
Hmm.
"Okay." And so we
Hmm.
spent several weeks down there. In Fez and Marrakesh, Essaouira, Casablanca, Tangier. A lot of wonderful experiences, great food. Learned all about tagine cooking there. Tried to ride a camel, got thrown off a camel. I'm not very good at camel riding, I'll admit it right now. But when I came back, I was a different person.
Hmm.
I realized that the people around the world are all, I won't say they're the same because that makes it sound homogenized. They're all unique, different religions, different foods, different types of clothing, different languages, et cetera, et cetera. And yet, there was a certain kindness to people, a certain desire for connection, where even though we didn't know one another, even though we could barely find two or three words in common, we somehow were able to connect. And that to me was the most important lesson that I came back from, with that knowledge in my heart, not just in my head, but in my heart, that there's no such thing as, oh, those foreign people. That doesn't exist.
Hmm.
They are people.
Hmm.
They're people. And if all you do is look at them in the eye and give them a smile and maybe shake hands, uh, you have bridged a major gap. And the next step is friendship, cooperation, and understanding. Travel can do that.
Hmm.
Travel can really do. I don't want to sound like a preacher. I don't want to sound like I'm on a, being a philosopher here. Travel is the number one gift you can give to your children. It is the number one gift you can give to yourself. And I think actually, uh, it is the number one gift you can give to the world, because
Hmm.
with travel comes understanding, and with understanding comes peace and cooperation.
Yeah, wonderful. So, when you look at today's travel culture, curated experiences, influencer itineraries, what do you think has replaced hitchhiking emotionally, if not practically?
Well, I guess the idea of being you're going to have to help me with the word here, Adeeba. The digital nomads. That's what I was thinking of. Being a digital nomad,
Mhm.
where you are relying on the internet and email and texting and everything else, but you're doing it in a way that is productive, creative, and allows you to survive. That is, you can write a story and send your story to your editor from 10,000 miles away. It doesn't matter. And it allows you, being the digital nomad lifestyle, allows you to live in one city, move to a different city, stay with a friend for a few days, and on and on. Now, it's a lifestyle that is best suited, I would say, for somebody who might be 22 years old, not somebody who's my age, not now. Now I like a hotel room with with hot showers. uh, but but still, I would say that if I hadn't done the hitchhiking routine back in the 1970s,
Hmm.
I might have done the digital nomad routine in these days. And
Right.
so I would say that's probably the closest corollary that I can think of.
Hmm. So you have traveled extensively. Have you ever been to Pakistan?
No, now you're hurting me. Now you just put a knife in me, because I desperately want to visit Pakistan. I want to go to Lahore. I want to see the fort. I want to see the gardens. I want to see the beautiful city itself. I want to go to the restaurants and the nightlife in Karachi. I want to drive on the Karakoram highway. Oh, there's so much to see and visit, and I've read about it. I could write a book about it, and I've never been there. But I will go. I will go. Now, I have been, and I was thinking about this. I have been, well, from Vietnam, and I've been to Cambodia, and I've been
Hmm.
to Myanmar, and I've been to India, and well, shouldn't I go to Pakistan next? Wouldn't that,
Right.
wouldn't that seem like the logical next
Yes.
step? So it's certainly on my list, and if anybody there who's watching this show, Pakistan Travel Mart guys, keep it up in mind. If you run press trips and you're looking for an enthusiastic journalist who might want to write about Pakistan, I'm your boy.
We are hoping to have you in Pakistan really soon.
Wouldn't that be fabulous? No, it is obviously one of the world's most beautiful countries, with the mountains and the deserts and the sea and everything. You cannot get all of that into a single country very
Yes.
often. And
Yes.
and not only that, but the history, the from what I everything I've read, and now knowing you a little bit, the warmth of the people.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you want to go there? I do. I do want to go there, and I will go there one of these days.
Great. So now let's get to some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Okay. I
Okay.
don't think so, but okay.
So, Europe or Asia?
Asia,
Okay. City travel or wilderness?
city,
London then or London now?
London then.
Then.
Yes, definitely. And I'll tell you why. Because all of the pubs are going out of business and they're making all these new laws and congestion prices today. No, it was much better then. It was a lot more easygoing.
Right. Train journeys or road journeys?
Train journeys, by far, I am a huge fan of trains. I took a wonderful train all across Anatolia. It was a 3-night train trip across Anatolia in Turkey. One of the most wonderful experiences of my life. Love trains.
Wonderful. Planned itinerary or open ended travel?
These days, for me, a planned itinerary. I just simply, I'm married. I have a house. I have a pet dog. I have obligations. I can't just wander the
Hmm.
way that I did when I was 25.
Hmm.
So I do plan my itineraries pretty carefully so that I maximize the days that I'm traveling.
Okay, so now we would just delve into some answers by region from
Okay.
you. One
Okay.
destination in Europe that never disappoints.
Mm. Oh my goodness. Um, I would say Madrid.
Madrid. Okay.
Yeah,
One underrated country in Asia.
underrated. Well, I'm going to say Myanmar or Burma, as some people still call it. It has been extremely difficult for certainly for Westerners to
Mhm.
travel there because of the junta and its regulations. I happened to be there during a very narrow window back in, well, I guess was it 2019, 2020, right around there when it had opened up to Western travelers. So most Europeans, most Americans, most South Americans simply know nothing about Myanmar. It's a wonderful country with a terrific people and
Mhm.
food and beauty of the land. So yes, it is underrated, but that's because people can't really go there.
Have you traveled to Africa?
I have.
Okay,
Uh,
so one place in Africa
oh,
which is misunderstood.
Namibia. Namibia, I think people think of
Okay.
it, if they know of it at all, it's for the big sand dunes that are famous along the coast, the Skeleton Coast. But it is one of the great safari destinations. If you want to see elephants and hippopotamus and
Hmm.
rhinoceros and zebras and giraffes, it is an amazingly wonderful destination. And I spent about 2 weeks there and will never forget how wonderful it was.
Okay. One surprise destination in North America.
Hmm. I would say the Hudson Valley, which is basically where I live. The Hudson Valley is one of the most historic
Mhm.
areas in the United States, going back to the Revolutionary War and George Washington and all of that. Also, it is an extremely beautiful part of the United States with mountains and steep cliffs over the Hudson River and quaint little towns that have not changed in 200 years. The Hudson Valley of New York is I think a place everybody who comes to America should visit.
All right. One place in the Middle East travelers should rethink.
Well, I'll tell you, all politics aside now, okay?
Hmm.
I am going back to Israel. I've been there a couple of times. I'm going back to Israel. I'm not Jewish. I'm not
Hmm.
going back there for religious reasons. I'm going back there because it's an interesting country.
Hmm.
And as I said, I've been there before, but with everything that has happened there in the past couple of years, I don't have to go into details about that. I'm interested in is this a place where visitors are welcome, where people are welcome if the lifestyle has changed? And so I will be visiting it, very, very soon, the next couple of months, and you'll be hearing from me about my opinions. They may be
Mm,
good, they may not be good, but I think it needs reconsideration, a reinvestigation, and so that's what I'm planning to do.
right. So now let's delve into some destinations theme wise. Best destination for culture.
That might be Germany. The music, the
Okay.
architecture, the history of that country is hard to beat. It's an amazing place.
Best for food.
France. How can you beat France? I mean, you can just ask for a plate of eggs, and it will be the most memorable meal you've ever
Mhm.
had. It's wonderful, wonderful food, especially in Lyon. That's the place you really want to go visit if you are a foodie.
Right. Best for solitude.
Um, Antarctica.
Antarctica.
I've
Okay.
been there, and it is an isolated place. Trust me, it is very, very. It brings you back to the fundamentals of
Yeah.
life. It's just you. And first off, if anything happened to you, well, forget it. It'd take a plane, 24 hours to get there. You are away from everything, and to experience the beauties of Antarctica is that is solitude. That is the definition of solitude.
You did very well with these questions, especially these rapid fire ones. You
Thank you.
scooped out a lot of information and insights.
Well, thank you very much, Adeeba. You got me nervous there.
So, Mark, you have seen travel evolve from intuition to information, from mystery to metadata. And if you had to give one piece of advice to young travelers and young travel writers today, what would it be?
I would tell you this: look for the things that make you personally excited. Not the most famous hotel, not the top Michelin star restaurant, but the thing that you like, maybe the little cafe that
Hmm.
makes those wonderful croissants that couldn't be better. Maybe the little old woman who was watering her plants in her front yard and who asked you if you could help dig a hole in her garden for her. The little tiny things that bring a personal connection that only you have experienced. Not, I can get top 10 lists anywhere. I cannot get what are the wonderful experiences that you have had. So
Hmm.
that's what I want to hear about. What made you excited? What brought you the most joy and happiness, the most concrete memories that will never, ever leave you? That to me is the essence of really, really solid travel writing. It comes from the heart. Okay. And if you can bring that back and put it on the page, or even if you're not a writer, if you can bring that back and share it with your friends, just, at home over dinner, then you have made a successful trip. And that's what I would urge everyone to do.
Nuanced world where everything is adopted, it's very difficult for a young person um, to not get influenced from what information is already there and
Yeah.
have their own personal view. But still, I think reflection and going ahead with what you like. It's a long journey because experimentation would need that to come to what you really want in life, as your own journey of hitchhiking was unplanned and
Right.
you just managed somehow to go there and form your own opinions about the world. So young travelers, I think, are very confused in this digital world with a lot of information, but it's very practical to just delve deeper and look inside and just ask questions from your own self, that what is
Right.
something that you like. It was a pleasure talking to you, Mark. Thank you so much for your time, and we had a lovely conversation a lot of information, got a perspective about so many destinations, and so much we have covered. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you very much, Adeeba, and all best of luck to Pakistan Travel Mart and all of the attendees coming up. And I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing that you're doing to promote travel and get people interested in getting out of their house and going to meet new people and see new things. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much for
so
having
much.
me.
Thank you. Thank you.